Happy effing Friday, everybody. Today's episode is a tribute to the little word yes. Kyle Karges explains how default yes changed his network, his deals, and his life, and how to build balance so it doesn't become expensive. Let's go. Thanks for joining me today. I've got Kyle Karges from Sub 2 Owners Club. I think he's an agent maybe as well out in the Phoenix area. Kyle, thank you for joining me today. We got to know each other this last year, I guess. It's almost been. That's pretty crazy that we have been a year in this thing. Where are you from? Like, what'd you do before you got into Owners Club and Sub 2, and how did you arrive here?
Well, thank you for having me. I would say most people have been in real estate for a couple years or, maybe a little bit longer. Mine, what's interesting is I realized I was going to be in real estate back in high school. So just a long time ago.
Dang, lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I would say lucky from that point. I would say, man, I wish I had all the materials and access and communities like Sub 2, Owners Club, all that stuff that's available now. Like, oh my goodness, the stuff that how quickly you could go. I love seeing these youngsters come out and just go to town and make some really good money, in
No
their
doubt.
early 20s and stuff. But no, I realized I hated reading. And it turns out, long story short, I just hated reading the wrong books, and I needed to read something that I was interested in, and my brain did not care about being imaginative and things that couldn't be real, and I wanted to I'm fine having a big goal that some people would think maybe is unrealistic, but I think could somehow possibly get there. Right? So it's like in that confinement a little bit. But so it turns out, self-discipline, right? Personal progress. Man, I started eating that up and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad back in high school. And I was just like, yep, I'm gonna do real estate, you know? Um, and I had some certain experiences and bought my first house by the time I was 22. And then literally rented out all the rooms. I do co-living now. I did co-living, but I lived in it, right? I house hacked and I rented
Nice.
out all the rooms and had a blast. Got married, kicked them all out, and then from then just started building my portfolio, right? And so I've been in real estate now 18 years. 15 years of that before joining really Sub 2 or any real what I would call community. I paid for lots of coaches. And I would say even the ones where I'm at first I wanted to say that was a waste of my time and my money. Cause back then, are you kidding me? I took my tax refund money, right? Everything I had to go pay for some of that stuff. But I look back and I'm like, it was all necessary for me. I can look back and I'm like, one specific was I was taught seller financing and 0%, not subject to though. But I was taught that, and I almost got a deal, and I did not even get a deal doing that back then. I paid, I think it was $5,000, which was huge for me way back then. And I look back and I go, wow, you know what? I really got to know, and that was my first exposure to contracts, real estate contracts. And I was this fearful, scared of it before, but nope, I got through and I went through it all and I've had to practice writing making all these offers over and over and over. And I got so familiar with the contract that fear just completely went away. Right. I did direct mail. I did all these other things to where basically a lot of these things just built my confidence. I had to become the version of myself that I needed to become before I could be successful. Right? And I think way too many of us, two things, put a timeline of how long it's going to take to be successful. So it's both sides of the coin, right? Oh, I can't be successful unless I put in a whole year, 2 years, 3 years. It can happen way faster than you think. It just depends on who were you, what skill sets did you have, what can you leverage, including time and money to do so. So I did not have money. I did not come from money. And so little by little, I did long-term rentals and realized I was gonna be 80 or 90 by the time I actually had enough money for things, and started flipping houses, you know?
All
So
right.
that's how I got started, and just kinda started growing and really started making money when I was flipping. That's where things started changing.
How soon after those first rentals, first house hacked co-living, did you get into flips?
Oh, quite a few years, actually. I wanna say it was probably 5 years? Something like
And was
that?
this all in Phoenix?
All local to Phoenix area. Yep. I bought the first houses, it was always buy them as a primary, and then I'd move out, turn it into a rental, and buy the next one,
Some
and which
burr?
was great. Yeah, and but yeah, you're making 200-300, and then luckily, like, when we went through the crash and all that, right, rent values came down, and we bought well on some of those.
Good job.
I just
Yeah, we
sold.
did the opposite. We
Oh.
lost well.
Yeah. Well, my first house, a lot of people don't know this. I short sold my first house, right?
Oof.
First house
That
I
was a
bought.
process.
The first house I bought was in 2007, literally right before, for $230,000, and I short sold it in 2009 or 10, right? So you're talking 2 to 3 years for 115,
Mm,
right? So it lost
that's rough.
half of its value in 3 years, right? And I'm a 22-year-old guy, and
Did you have to pay tax on that income, sir?
I did not. I did not have to do that. We did get like,
That was a
yeah,
wild time.
that was the big conversation, right, back then of, "Hey, if you're forgiven this, right, you could be kinda taxed
Yeah.
on it." But certain, factors at play, I didn't have to. Um, but I remember thinking about that though. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that'd be like me making $115,000 of income."
Yeah, where
I'm
am I
like
gonna get that money from?
I just, short sold this house. Like, things
Right.
were
I
not
ain't
going
got no
well.
money. Right.
You know, so I'm actually grateful. I don't tell enough people that story when I'm super grateful and proud that I had to go through that, because, my dad was like, "Don't buy, don't buy." But I'm like, "I am so grateful I bought." And even though I short sold it, because I learned a lot of stuff. I learned, 1, short selling and anything else, right? It's like I was just executing the contract, right? When I went and got a mortgage, it was like, here's the terms. This, and I'm going to do my best to do all of this. If this doesn't happen, then here's what happens, right? And so at that point, it's like, oh, okay, if the market were ever to shift and all that stuff came into play. And then two parties, us and the bank, got together and we're like had a conversation and discussed. It's like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do in this exact situation. And I think, wow, did that prepare me for all my investment properties with issues with my tenants, etc., and really big problems that I mean we'll get into, right, on this
Yeah, I
podcast.
mean,
But I'm
there's
like,
there's just
oof.
there's elements of shame to that, right? Like, if things don't go perfectly according to what everyone else sees as being like, you're an upstanding citizen. If all of this stuff plays out well, and if you don't, then there's some negative moral connotation to it. And yeah, so it makes sense that you don't tell the story enough. But yeah, I mean, you learned a lot more from it going sideways or down, whichever direction, than you did if it had just gone smoothly. And we kind of have been talking about that with our first flip. Went into a stop work order, and it was in a stop work order for 8 months, something like
Mm.
that. And and we really wish that it wouldn't have done that, blah 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 blah. Yet, had it gone exactly according to plan, we would have so much more naivety. Right? We would have missed out on learning about how the city, whatever, the code review board works, or we just even basic things like, hey, no, you should make sure that when your contractor says they're pulling a permit, that you see it posted on the building before the work's done, right? Had it
Yep.
gone smoothly, we wouldn't have known that. Whatever, right? There's so much more to learn when things go bad than when things go smoothly. So yeah, you should tell the story more often.
Will do.
Okay. And you, so I've been creeping on your Instagram a little bit. Nothing weird about that. You're kind of doing a similar thing that we are with our kids. We're trying to get a family business started, right? I see that you're incorporating your kids into the daily business. What's your guys' goals for that?
Yeah. So I think it's so important that we show, but also be purposeful as we teach our kids how to do this. It's, I don't blame my parents at all. You can only teach what you have and what you've experienced, right? Like you going through that issue of the stop order. Now you could go and teach your kids or someone else about it, right? If you wouldn't have, you wouldn't be able to even do that. So, my kids, I think they're definitely getting, some benefits from. I have memories of them with on this shelving unit behind me when they were younger, of course, a couple years ago. They'd bring their toy phone and put it up there and pretend to make calls, be like, "Dad, someone wants to buy, wants you to buy their house, or I got a house, they want to buy this house." And I'm like, that's their imagination going. And it's like, oh my goodness, right? Like I would have ever thought of that at that age or anything like that. And so there's these moments that you realize they think differently. Right, opportunities are open. My oldest, I wanna say about a year ago, my wife was driving her in the car and has all my daughter has her other friends with her, and they all got an extra amount of money. They must have all worked and earned some extra money, and they're like, "Oh, what are you gonna
Mm,
do with your money?" And they start asking each other, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go buy this." Oh, and they're like, "Let's go to the mall, and let's all go spend our money." And we had never talked to my oldest about this, like, and outwardly of like, you should go buy real estate, but she literally like, "Oh no, I can't. I'm saving up to buy my house first," you know,
dude,
like all on
right
her
on.
own, you know?
Amazing.
And I'm like, okay, at 12, wow, that's cool. And, without coaching her to that point. And so moments like that, but to integrate now. So, and we're going to be doing a whole lot more. In fact, a new thing I'm going to be doing on our YouTube channel is going to be I'm gonna teach my oldest how to bird dog, right?
Sweet.
I'm gonna do a whole series on it. I mean, so a 13-year-old now is gonna go out there and bird dog and is gonna be making probably a lot more money than most adults, right? And just to show everyone that anyone can do it, if you put
Well,
in the
that's
right
awesome. I'd love
time.
to follow along with that. We're doing a similar thing with our kids. We actually just got back from northern Georgia where we did our a family retreat, and you know, with the big sticky Post-it notes, Kim
Yeah,
went through and it did several questions on like, okay, what's our family business values? What's our vision? What's our goal? As a family business, where do we want to invest? What do we want to invest in? What do we not want to invest in? Right. A whole bunch of this stuff. Our kids are a little older than yours. Our oldest is 19 and a half and our youngest just turned 13. But, you know, we don't see them having jobs. Like our oldest is in college right now. But she's going there to become a more well-rounded human, not going there
mhm,
for like, I'm getting trained up so that I have a job when I come out of school, right? We don't expect that to
right.
happen. So she's going there for history and logic and philosophy, right? All of these like, liberal arts.
And maturity, right? A lot of
Maturity,
times
right?
maturity.
Yeah. I never went to a college like that. I never finished my college degree. I missed out. I feel like I missed out on like the social aspects of it.
Does your wife
I
call
would
you
go hang
immature
out
all
with
the
my
time?
wife at her college in Seattle, where she went, and most of my child friends, like the guys I was in a band with, all went to school at Seattle Pacific, and so I would go hang out there. So I was really hoping that I could give my oldest that experience. Right? I want her to go to school so that she could have the social aspects. And yes, go learn. I want you to learn all those important things too. And you know what? She loves her classes. She loves her professors. Like she goes to all of the office hours and hangs out with the professors, goes and has coffee with them. She hates the social aspects of college.
Interesting.
Like
Interesting.
she does not want to be on campus. She doesn't want to be in her dorm room. Luckily, she's only an hour and 15 minutes drive from home. So, I mean, she's coming home all the time and being with us, right? She's got a few friends that she hangs out with too. But like the thing that I wanted her to have, like she could care less about or couldn't care less about, couldn't care less. So it's just funny about putting those kinds of things onto our children, whereas they are their own people and have their own
Yeah.
interests and desires. And it's fun to kind of watch those play out and develop. Anyhow, doing the family business is, I think, a pretty fulfilling thing.
Feels great.
Kim and I are trying to figure out everyone's strengths. Like the oldest two, we did the Clifton strengths, full 34, and the younger
Cool.
ones we did, the VIA character survey, right? Trying to figure out like where do these kids gravitate towards. Obviously, we know them pretty well as our own children, so we can see their strengths. But figuring out what roles in the family business fit their interests and strengths. We happen to be a lot of visionaries in the house still with low executive abilities, which is pretty fun and frustrating at the same time.
It all works its way out. And a lot of times you'll find out there'll be a mix, right? You'll get that visionary. Like I think most people have a little bit of visionary integrator
Oh, of
into
course.
them. It's
Yep.
just that where's the percentage, right? Where does it swing? And where is, in fact, a lot of times you could be amazing still as an integrator, but yet where's your true passion and where are you going to be the happiest and
Right.
flourish the most? Like, that's where ultimately you wanna be. You know, I can share that I was the one wearing all the hats for the 15 years. I did everything. I wasn't joint venturing with anybody, so, like, it's all possible. You know, I'm like, "Oh, gotta figure this out and that out," and when I look back, I'm like, "Man, I can see myself getting stuck at certain points," because I'm like, I wasn't excited about that. I had to, but I had to force myself past that certain, part of business.
How did you unlock that bit? Like, what was the thing that changed that's like, oh, I could partner with some of these people to shore up maybe some blind spots that I've got instead of me trying to do all of the things?
I would say two moments, okay? 2 times. I would say when I joined about 3 years ago when I was joining the Sub 2 community, I was still 15 years at that point, never joint ventured, all by myself, right? Then I start realizing I'm like, "No, I gotta have," uh 'cause what, 3 years ago now, so we're talking that was 2022, right? I think October of 22, I think is when I joined Sub 2. But COVID, right, was the year before. And so I was telling you about, well, earlier, but I have a bum knee. Okay. So it turns out when COVID happened, right, I go back to playing basketball that I had done for weekly for years, since high school, and my knee has just gone bad. My cartilage is shot. And so being around that circle of friends started deteriorating. And I remember feeling, okay, whoa, like who am I? I our whole married life, me and my wife, it was like I went to basketball every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and I had this, and she was more of a homebody.
Mm.
And so it's like I remember feeling almost guilty, being like, because I'd have that, and I'd go out with other guys, and other times I'm like, am I having too much fun, like away from my wife and stuff? And I would have to like dial things in. Um, and then I remember in this moment, COVID and everything, I'm like, wow, like all my friendships that I was going out and doing that stuff are dwindling and deteriorating. It's
Mm.
still solid friends, but the time we would spend together.
Right.
Um, and I'm like, no, you know what? I need to go make some new friends. I need to add stronger friendships. And you know what? I want to reach new heights. And so I started saying to myself, I need to say yes to more. Cause what people also don't know about me is I was an introvert. Okay. I was an introvert. I used to church and school dances. I'd want to be on the wall. I wouldn't, it would take a lot of oomph to go out and, go up to talk to some strangers sometimes. So I would definitely was an introvert
Mm.
before.
It's hard to see.
And yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to be an introvert. What's one of the skills that I wish that I was the most jealous of in high school would be, even though I had lots of friends, right? But it'd be like those certain people that would just, without even trying, right? Would just be like everyone, they knew everyone. I'm like, wow, that's a superpower. I remember feeling that from high school. Like, that's such a superpower. I'm like, I'm going to get more friends than the type of friends that I want to have in my life. And so I'm like, I'm just going to start saying yes. It's like one of those movies, like, yes, man, has to say yes. And so I started saying yes. I am a realtor. And, I don't do a lot of it, but we probably sell 15, 20 houses a year, but that's like all referral based because I was born and raised here. And so I helped somebody buy a house here. And he calls me up one day and goes, Kyle, let's go to Disneyland in 2 weeks. Well, I had just committed to myself that I'm a yes man. I say yes now.
Test. Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, 2 weeks, like, holy cow, like, that's short notice. But I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I tell the wife and kids, I'm like, we're all going to Disneyland in 2 weeks, and remember, I was an introvert. My dad actually is not just an introvert. My dad was antisocial. Okay.
Mm.
So my dad would have died, but we rented a house in California and went to and rented all together and we had a blast. Right. And he's very much business minded. And so we stayed up late talking about real estate and business and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got such a good feel of like hanging out and having a good time, but also like mind and goal oriented. And I go, this, I need more of this.
Right.
So that was that first moment. And I'm like, yep. And I joined at the same time, pretty much joined sub two, knew I needed to be around more people. I even still joined the sub two community to learn how to buy houses sub two. So it was technical, but yeah, man, what the biggest blessing at the same time, because I needed that because this was happening all at the same time. And I go, wow, nope. I started to get to know people. I started joint venturing with people. Um, such a blessing. So that was the first shift where that happened. And then I would tell you the second time was more recent. I would say last 6 months. I'm already in owners club. I've already grown quite a bit and I was already hinting towards it. And I'm like, there, I didn't know, but like I've recently have joint ventured and started our own property management company for co-living. And we're doing TC, transaction coordination, separately. And so I'm joint venturing with more and more people and high level people. And I finally got down to it. I'm like, wow, I just realized that it was fear and it was, I didn't know what I didn't know yet. I didn't know how much I'm holding myself back, right? Anybody else, I am still holding myself back from what I'm capable of. And it's the unlock is other people.
Mm. Pretty good.
Super pumped now. I just want to go out and accomplish more stuff, dude.
I mean, the whole saying yes is really interesting. There's a lot of people, and I have probably historically fallen in this bucket too. Is just like the default no stance, just the immediate closing opportunities down, and it's oftentimes it's driven by fear of some sort, right? Whether that's, well, if I go and what if they don't like me, or what if I
Right.
make myself look like a fool? The default no really kills a lot of things. It really just tamps down your life and makes you smaller. So making the choice to be default yes that's a big game changer. I'll have to reflect on that.
And then you figure it out. I can't tell you when I was flipping, I'd start flipping house. Like I didn't know how to flip a house. I didn't have construction background. I still don't have construction background. I'm just
Yeah, I was
like,
going to ask you about that.
let's do it. And I hire a contractor and you run into problems and you solve it and you keep going. I have never found a problem too big to solve,
Well, that's good.
right? I just think there might be more time, right? There might be
Yeah,
a problem where I'm like, "Oh, this was not like I could come up with the answer and solve this today, this weekend, this month, this year even." It might be, "Oh, it's going to take a couple years."
yeah.
Right? but I don't think there's any problems too big, that like, and I think problem versus challenge. I think there's a little bit of a
Challenge.
difference there, right?
Well, dude, it's been 18 years in real estate now. 18?
Yes.
Your real estate career is an adult now. Congratulations. They
Thank
can
you.
vote.
Yeah. Vote, not drink, still not mature enough.
No, no, no. You can go join the army though and go kill some folks. But no drinking. That's
Exactly.
of course
Yeah.
ludicrous. So over those years, I'm sure you've run into all kinds of challenges and obstacles and mistakes. It doesn't have to be from a real estate career, but I assume it might be. What has been the greatest mistake that you've come up against or you've made?
I would say the greatest mistake I made was it's the same best decisions that I've made. And by that, I mean trusting people. Okay. I think we are so, and just to reiterate what I was saying, we're so limited if we don't partner and trust with people. You have to take that gamble, right? Yes, you should do your homework, right? You should do these things, but you will never be able to research all of it. Never, right? You have to learn to trust your gut the best you can and do some research, and then you make a decision and you run with it. And I'll say the biggest mistake is just I've trusted some people. A one time in my flipping business, I trusted a contractor, right? And being naive, right, about construction, not knowing exactly timeline should take, right? And like we were in better places, and then things started taking way longer, and ultimately he ended up stealing a ton of money from me. And um just and worked the system perfectly because I gave him too many properties to be working on at the same time, right? And I had just paid him money to like go and finish up some properties, but because we're finishing up properties, I also said yes and had a bunch of new properties under contract and just paid him as well down payment money to go order all the new cabinets and all that other stuff. So just combine all that, right? Just lots and lots of money. Uh,
So how do you reconcile those two things where you have to trust people, but led to a scenario like this,
Yep. And people will say trust but verify, right? That's the saying, right? And I would say that's true,
which is the
but
same as saying
realize
don't trust?
right. But I'm like, you can't verify everything, right? And you just can't. Verify what you can. And then what I've learned is this. As quick as you can, you get structure and checks and balances as you go. Right? To where the main problem I had was, right, way too many houses and way too much trust. It wasn't that I just didn't trust him. I could trust him, but that doesn't mean I have to give him keys to the city. Right? And he was with me for 7 years before he stole
Hmm.
all that money. Would you think that I should have a trust problem? No. I made him a lot of money. Right? And honestly, I think he was a good guy that just made some bad choices and started taking from jobs that I was, like probably came up short on other jobs and started moving money to pay for that and just got way behind and at some point.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like that's a pretty common story, right? In at least in our circles of long-term relationships that just one day go bad, and it's kind of like, yeah, a contractor or whatever trusted party is great until life happens and something comes up where they get compromised and that relationship just goes south, and
Yep.
doesn't
Yep.
really matter that it was 7 years or 7 months, right? It's like whatever happened, maybe something goes wrong in their life and they turn to drugs or alcohol or
Yep.
something, or they get into a scenario like that where they got in over their head and they were naive about something and they made a mistake. And then now they see your, naivete or whatever,
Right.
um, as a potential solution for
Yeah.
that.
And it
And
might not even be
it
intentional.
works
Like,
until it
and
doesn't.
I'll say it, but like, my wife still gets pretty upset about it. But like, it might not have been intentional, right? Like, it doesn't mean he at some point been like, oh, I want to steal a bunch of money from Kyle, right?
Right.
Like, oh, I have this opportunity he's trusted me so much that I could really plan this out and like get all this money, you know? And I really do think he was a good guy at the beginning and just wouldn't have ever even thought to himself that he would ever do that. Right. And then slowly, that one thing about you mentioned it, just because it's 7 years, 7 months, I think, well, yes, actually, 7 years, you're a completely different person than you were 7 years ago. Right. So I don't know, you almost have to like that's why I tell you checks and balances matter. Because it's like, oh, if you and me were going to go become partners and do a business together, it's like who you are today and who I am today is this. Our needs might change. Something could
Right.
happen to either one of us, and all of a sudden our priorities shift, and I could become, not the best person. Bad people aren't born bad, right? Make bad
Some
choices.
probably are.
Yeah,
Some are probably born bad, like Megamind.
yeah, from the beginning, you know, not a chance. But yeah, I think I've learned those. Oh my gosh! And just like those coaches, I paid them so much money, but I'm like, gosh dang it, I'm so grateful I had that, and I can feel the exact same way towards this. Even though I'm like, wow, it would be nice to have all that money, but I'm
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
dang. But I've learned to say yes still faster to partnerships,
Hmm.
even though I had that problem. I say yes faster to partnerships.
Yeah, what was the recovery from that?
Uh, you have to go do more business, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, especially in our exact situation when he has no money, right? Because he basically messed it all up and, you know, at the end of the day, like, yes, I just paid him all that money, but it all went and he spent it super quick on those other jobs, so far as I understand, and misspending money. It's like there was nothing to squeeze. I can't go get my money from it. And it's like,
Right.
and even if I could to a certain degree, how much time and energy and effort is it going to take to go down that path?
Right.
Right? It might be easier for some people to be like, oh, $1,000, $5,000, even, we're all at different stages, 50,000, 100,000 might be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, Kyle, let's just move forward. But when you're talking hundreds of thousands, right? It's like, that's hard. That's a hard pill. And I really had to have confidence in myself where I go, I will literally recover faster by putting all my energy and focus into going out and flipping more houses, doing more work. I will become the person I want to become even more, or I could go after this guy. It really will take longer, probably. It will take me a
More
bunch of
money.
money. I'll probably become bitter. And I'm like, oh man, when that showed itself in front of me, and I'm like, nope, I know exactly how I'm going to handle this.
Yeah. The heartache from pursuing that, and like you said, it's not gonna come back, right? So you're gonna get a judgment against him, and then what, right? He's not he's never gonna pay. So, yeah, a lot of that time I feel is like, it's just not worth the heartache of going through that process, like, bite the bullet and move on.
And it's on me.
And like you said, it's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. And it's on me. I go, you know what? Regardless of what he did, what did I do wrong? I didn't have my checks. I didn't have some checks and balances. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. We limit how many properties we give our contractors now, et cetera.
Do you
And
now?
yep,
Was that one of the outcomes is like, "Yep, I've got this guy. He's doing great work. Trust him. I would love to give him more work, but we've hit our cap in our system of this guy's got his 5 properties," or whatever the
right.
the
Yep.
number is.
So we have limitations like that. And then we have been able to help them expand bigger than we originally thought by pushing some of the ordering like through us in house.
Yeah.
Right? Because before it was, hey, had to give all this money and trust them to order the cabinets and all the materials, which we still do in certain contractors, but that type of contractor is gonna be more limited on number of houses, right? But I could take a dramatic amount of money away that's not at risk right, with them if we go order all the supplies.
Right. You order all the materials. Are you then acting as a project manager in a sense there?
Still one of the hats that I still should not be wearing. I have too many hats and yep, amen.
But, does save some things.
It does. It saves, but on topic is shouldn't have been property managing as much as I was on my co-living properties, and now I've joined venture to take that off, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." On the TC side paperwork, like, yes, I would hire TCs most of the time, but, like, I knew stuff, and so, like, it wasn't that hard, and I would, like, just put something together and I'm like, "Oh my goodness," like, it doesn't mean you can't do it. The question is, should you be doing it? And it takes so much off your plate. So I already know I should be hiring a project manager right now. I already know I should be. So I'm going to do that.
Good job. Good job. That takes a level of maturity to get to that point where you recognize that you don't have unlimited time in the day. And I think that's kind of where we're at is trying to make the who not how transition. And that's a struggle, especially for so my background is I'm a software engineer for nearly 30 years, which is crazy to think about. Very much historically just a lone wolf, right? I like to do the things. They will be done my way and they will be done to my level of quality. And that's very limiting.
Right. Yes.
So I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to recognize the limitations of a lone wolf and how do we find a larger pack. And hopefully some of that work can be handed off to the kids and I'll have a little bit more hands-on.
That'll be so fun. That'll be so
That's where we're
fun.
growing. All right. So what are you working on now?
So now would be the property management company. That's like a brand new thing. In fact, Pace, we're doing a co-living challenge at the end of January.
Mm,
And I'm going to be one of the closers in part of that challenge that we're going to do.
okay.
And so I'll be coming. I just find the more I can help others learn how to do some of these things, the better.
Oh, is that like the golden ticket?
So the golden ticket. So yes. So the golden ticket was always the Friday at the end of the week of this week, right? Once a month, a week where new people would come in, right? And that has the golden ticket on the end. Now, so this next month it's going to be, and there's always the topic. So this time it's co-living topic versus we've done RV parks, right? We've done all these other topics in the past months. So you get a whole education, in sub two, but also it's like, how do I get myself out of my comfort zone? I'm going to go call and close people in front of hundreds of people live. I've done it before. I did it once before, and then online. I mean, there's stress involved with that, right? Um, and when they ask me, I don't think about it. I text back and said yes, and I'm like, yep. I say yes to things now.
Good. That's your new persona. You say yes to things. You're the guy who says yes.
Exactly, and I'll figure it out. I didn't even know. I'm like, what do I got that week? I don't know. I'll check my schedule and I'll make sure I'm there.
For sure. All right. Well, where can people follow along on your journey?
They can connect to me on Instagram at the Kyle Karges. They can also follow me on YouTube, which is just at Kyle Karges. So all of the series I talked about with my daughter, and I'm going to teach her how to bird dog and all that stuff. We put out a new YouTube video every week. And we have a blast doing it. So they can connect with me in those type of ways. And if they're trying to, and they can DM me that way too, if they're wanting to send deals in, cause we're always buying. If they have private money, right? If they want to invest their money in some projects, anything like that. We work with, I telling you, I have completely changed from going solo to working with everyone all the time. It is fantastic.
All right. Well, I'll have to follow in your tracks then. Thanks for blazing the trail.
Love it, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for joining me, Kyle.
You bet.